56.
Not saying anything
Not
else.
saying no. Season
Gonna
3, it's done.
done. Wait, we're done.
It's done.
Now
Yeah.
we're done.
Now we're done. Is that the new tagline?
No, we're done.
Now we're done.
We need to talk. So what are we talking about?
Oh, we'll do it anyway. We're talking about love.
Yeah, but not like once again, the asterisk there is like not like oh my gosh, it's love. Not that.
Right. Not that. Love in the valley. No, and it's unfortunate that we have this one word love, which means anything from I love pizza to I love my wife to I love humanity to
You know what? I don't think it's unfortunate. I've come
full
360
circle.
on that.
Really?
Yeah, it is. We love so many things, right? Because that is what within us, under the right circumstances, another asterisk, actually has our life force being felt. And so you could technically have your life force be expressed, which is what love is, right? It's expression of the life force. To pizza, right? Or to squirrels, or to Sally, or to whatever else you said. I don't remember what else. Humanity. Right?
Yeah.
Because so the difference between this love conversation and the previous love conversation is because the new definitional structure that I guess we're exploring, kind of sort of, that I think I definitely need to understand better, is love is matter. Like love actually
Densifies. Condenses, maybe.
Well, it is what holds structure to some extent on the higher level. And it is actually an energetic force that we as humans interpret as, oh my God, I love Sally. Whatever.
Right. Well, not just I love Sally, but also I love pizza. That is
Yeah.
like a smaller version of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love pizza is almost like I like pizza, which is almost like I prefer pizza.
But you can have
to peas.
That open heart flow where you're just you feel what feels like love.
Right. Yeah.
That is what I'm talking about. That is this version of love podcast that I'm talking about.
And it's like, do you feel that with pizza? Yes, you could.
You could if you're this is the best freaking pizza you've ever had, and you've been starving for 3 days.
I have felt that with food before. I have felt like, oh, it's just overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird being. It's like a different angle, and so everything looks slightly different.
Yeah, we're sitting on prop pillows in order to make this chair more comfortable.
It's probably like an inch or two.
Probably more than an inch or two.
I don't know, with my butt squishing it down.
I don't know. Yeah, it gets my knees in a better position. I don't know how
it does. Yeah.
I think because the chair is just so narrow.
I think it pivots your pelvis out just another couple degrees, and that helps.
Yeah, maybe. Already off topic.
Oh yeah. I love pillows.
Or sitting on them.
I don't know. I just like pillows. Love.
Yeah. Yeah. So as structure, though.
Right.
And so this is how I would like to take it apart, and then this is what everybody would be doing here in a little bit. That everyone will start taking love as a concept and start reinterpreting it as an energetic interpretation of a force, an energetic interpretation of a personal force or personal power, personal force to use for manifestation.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it is a force. Is it a force in the same way that like pushing on a train is a force? Weird example. I can push this cup and it moves. That's what science defines as force. Is this the same type of force? I'm not sure. Maybe.
That's what I want to say is in the past I heard like, oh, love is, powerful, or love is a force, and love
Right.
is this and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of power behind it and whatever, whatever. I misunderstood the concept completely.
Right. When I took it as like it's a metaphor, it's a force because it, compels you to act certain ways and do certain things, which is true, but
Yeah, it's actually
I
a
think it is
force.
a force. There are newtons being exerted from this
Yeah, well, I mean, one from the scientific
in some
standpoint,
sense.
they measure your heart flow, like your open heart flow has scientific measurement registered.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there is
Electromagnetic
pulses. Yeah.
pulses coming out. And
So
it's
there's,
what is it, 10 times stronger than your brain?
yeah,
Something like that. It extends out 10 times further than your brain. It's the
yeah.
electromagnetic field.
So when people say that, it is quite literally actually true. But maybe this is the first time I actually feel like all the details behind that truth.
Yeah. And when two people, especially if two people are in love and they are in proximity to each other, I'm inside of your literal heart field and you're inside of mine. And that I'm sure has some physical effect on each other's bodies, hearts.
Yeah. Yeah. But what I don't want to go into this direction, but I want to say is that, we have taken love and we have like finited it into this like, oh, this like feeling. It's like this feeling that you have and then you chase it, right? And think about how many concepts in the world today revolve around chasing love. Because,
Love Island.
I'm talking about real shit, not.
We have to mention Love Island at least once per episode. I've still never seen it. Did I derail you?
Yeah.
Wait, this concept.
Oh, wait, what?
Everyone's chasing it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So we chase.
Sorry.
We chase it, right? Like to some extent, this is something that I've heard, back when I used to talk to a lot of psychics who do card readings, just like, I'm not trying to diminish card readings as like, but it's like my acquaintances who are psychics, they're like, oh my gosh, the number one question in all psychic readings was always like, oh my gosh, where am I going to find love? And so I say that in the Valley Girl accent. We live in Kentucky, so that is not as a.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. No, that sounded like a Jersey accent, I guess.
I don't know what that was.
Yeah, I don't know. Once again, I'm derailing.
Please don't ever do that
again. But right, so what I want to point out is there is this innate drive within all of us, like pets included, humans included, birds, like all species, all humanoid, Earth, Terra species that have this drive within us to find or to connect with or to experience love. But from the human standpoint, we're very lost to the chase and the idea of what we think it will prevent prevent us from feeling otherwise, right?
Are you saying that like love between two cats and love between two monkeys and love between two penguins mate for life?
Yeah.
But like cats don't. Is that the same? Like a companionship or a partnership?
I'm saying the force exists in all of these interpretations.
Okay.
Right? But then humanity took it to the next level of the pain body. And took love and rewired it into like, oh, most of the people out there look love as a solution to not feel whatever they're trying not to feel inside.
Okay,
right?
yes, yeah.
So
I did that.
Yeah. I mean, that's just natural. Like you think that. So what I want to say is we recognize innately that love is the driving force behind our existence. Period. Like nobody has to teach us that. We come into Earth with that as a knowledge.
Mm.
And when we come into Earth as that a knowledge, that is the current that runs really kind of like as a know-how behind all of it, right? So as we walk through the world, behind it all, that there's this love, there's this force that is within you, right? But then as you dive into humanity, you go into the triangulational structure of victimhood, enemy, and resistance.
Empire. You said enemy.
Yeah, empire, enemy, whatever. It's the same. You perceive empire as an enemy. When you go into that triangulation structure, you get sucked into the depth of that idea, and love becomes really far away concept, right? You kind of lose that connection to that innate. The knowing is still there, but innate feeling of closeness to the proximity. So you almost, in your mind, you almost feel like you lose proximity to that innate knowing that is love, like that is even like the essence of you. And so as your prana, as your energetic density starts to take on form, you kind of dissolve your connection to knowing of love as a force, and start to only experience and only touch it as a solution to feeling like shit, or to be a victim, or to be the empire, or to be the resistance.
It becomes a means to an end.
Well, it becomes a game, another puzzle piece, another game token inside this triangulation. And so instead of seeing love as its own structure that you're actually part of and is a one of, you see it as in this limited form as this bounce in the triangulation.
Right.
That what we talked about in the
Right.
previous podcast.
Yeah. Well, we seek out romantic love for that purpose. What we would call romantic love, a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, partner type of situation.
So deep down, we will be seeking, because we're not connected to the truth of
Right.
it. We don't recognize the truth thereof. So we seek it anywhere we can find.
Yeah, but that's the most, what I'm saying is that's like the most obvious place that people go for
Yeah,
that.
that's all the
right?
psychic readings. Like, oh, where am I going to find my Mr. Perfect?
Yeah.
Right.
Or, sometimes Mr. Perfect's plural.
Yeah, whatever.
If that
Right. So
helps.
it's almost like, if you think about it, the main chaos and drama in this world that spikes up the most human emotion, the most intense human emotion, is love. Like, right? Like, think about how many songs, how many poems, how many movies, how many sitcoms are all about some
Right.
love and some aspect of it going right or going wrong.
Right. No, that's I would say it's probably 90% of all songs are in some way related to love, or the person that you love, or a love unfulfilled, or a love gone wrong, or an unrequited love, or a good love, or a whatever.
Yeah.
Missed love. It's all right. We listen to a lot of Russian music, and I don't understand all of it, but I can tell that it's a love song.
Yeah, a lot of them love songs. I mean, but American as well.
Yeah.
Right. It's just, but
Well, no, what I meant is that you don't even need to know the words to know this is a love song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Either a happy love song or a sad love song.
Yeah. But chances are, it is
it's
all
a
about
song,
love.
it's a love song.
Unless you are rapping about how much bling you have hanging on your chest,
You could make an argument that is a love song too.
I guess.
I mean, a love song toward bling, or a song trying to show off in order to find love.
Maybe deep down. Yeah.
At some level.
Yeah, right.
Maybe all songs are love songs.
To some extent, romantic love is what we look at it, ... But if you are singing a song about bling because you're trying to showcase what you have, chances are you feeling low and you feel like you're actually nothing, and you feel like because of that feeling like nothing, you don't actually have that innate reason for love, right? Similar to your, like, I'm unlovable at the mother's core, not at a romantic love from the core, but it started with you as the mother, right? But imagine if you were raised poor, right? And then your nothing is the sentiment within you,
Mm-hmm.
which is not true. None of it is true. I'm just saying this is how the pain body flow works. But if that is what you believe growing up as a child, that you're nothing, then thus nothing means what? Like, what do you have to offer to the world, right? And then thus it automatically propagates into, where's love? I'm not lovable, right? Like, nobody will like me because look, I am nothing. So then the overcompensation for that I'm talking about from the larger interpretation of bling is like, look, I have all this shit. So somebody's got to love me because I have the money. Because, a lot of people still believe that like having money will somehow equate to love.
Right.
Um,
May equate to partners, but that's not the same thing as love.
yeah, but sooner or later you come to realize that the love that you get is the love of the equivalent pain body on the opposite side, which is they're using you for what it is that you're trying to
Yeah.
pretend like you have. But in the long run, they're not giving you love that you want because they're just treating you as an object. But at the same time, you are allowing yourself to be treated as an object because you defined your identity as the object that is bling.
Yeah.
That is a very deep analysis of all rap songs. But
all rap songs. Never has a rap song been about anything other than bling.
Well, no, all bling rap songs, right? Right, but it's just the pain body expressing itself as a wounded child who's seeking love and then recognition. And then instead of just saying that, hey, I'm a wounded child seeking love and recognition, you talk about your bling. Anyway, and so at the core, the structure of us that is love is actually there, period, right? So innately, like, remember you and I talked about this one time that love just feels larger than life?
Right? It does. It feels like I have a theory
Mm-hmm.
that the heart is an antenna. And just like on a radio, I don't know if the young people listening today will know that there used to be radios with a literal dial that you would turn. And when you hit, if there's no station on your frequency, it's just static. There's nothing coming out. But
Mm-hmm.
as you approach the station, it would come in and it would get louder and clearer and clearer. And then when you're right on the right number, it would be crystal clear and loud and perfect.
Yeah.
Well, depending, maybe not where we live,
yeah. Well,
but
no.
depending on the station.
Yeah.
And I think the heart is the receiver, and love is being transmitted. And we throughout our lives, depending on our, I guess, emotional state, are constantly moving this dial all around. And every now and then we hit that love frequency and it's just overpowering and we're tuned into it. And then, inevitably something happens or time passes or whatever, and we fall off of it. And there may be other things on there. I'm still not sure if anything about it, if fear is its own channel that we tune into or not.
That's just all the reasons that you get pulled away. It's not
Maybe fear is
not a
what's
channel.
detuning you away from love.
Yeah. So
The analogy is not fully formed yet. It's only half baked. But yeah, that's my working theory right now.
yeah, this is what I think it actually is. So like at the core, our flow of our life, like the essence that is the makeup of our being, I will say like you could say prana or kundalini or like everything is actually this innate uninterrupted flow of love, right? As a life force. Like our life force is literally made up of love, right?
Yeah, what's the difference between a living person and a corpse? Might be love.
Well, ability to express love, right? And hold love as a frequency, as a prana. And then so that dial that you say like, oh, sometimes there's no dial, right? This is going back to that density, the pain body, the trauma, this triangulation of the victimhood simply basically takes us away from the flow and just blocks it off. Remember, just like did I bring it up on the podcast or did I bring it up on our discussion? Like how it just gated off, right? This is probably a diagram I need to draw in general. Like I just need to start drawing all these diagrams that come into my head. Right. And it just blocks it off, right? So what we do is that we do not feel that innate flow that is us, that is what we associate is with love, right? Because it's being blocked off by fear, usually fear, right? But victimhood is just a facet of fear.
Right. Imagine the big fear pie. Victimhood's a slice, anxiety's a slice, guilt is a slice. There's all these different
Yeah, but all anxiety is just fear.
Yeah. Anxiety is fear projected in the future, and was it guilt is fear projected into the past.
Yeah.
I like that because it's like it makes it obvious how, you know, as ridiculous as fear is alone, it makes anxiety and I guess guilt extra ridiculous.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and so love then becomes interpreted as something other than this greater structure, this greater, quite literally a force, like a force, right? And then we get lost, and then to some extent, we spend chasing it, right?
Yeah.
But I think what we actually chase is, to begin with, when we say that we chase love, we actually chase everything that we think that love will offer to offset us from feeling the depth of our pain body
That's
and
it.
our sorrow.
That's it. It's
So
it's a coping mechanism.
yeah, so to begin with, whenever we're like searching for love and doing psychic readings about love, it's just we want to offset feeling the crap that we're already feeling, right? So like if you want a loving partner who's going to be there by your side, right? It's like, okay, that's nice, but what is that you actually think that will mean to you, right?
Right. It's the why.
Yeah. And so that's the trauma. So to begin with, the love represents an ease away from the pain body that you actually already hold true within you. And you look at love as a solution away from it, right? So that's like your first, um, when love turns sour, right? That is what happens to love when it becomes first broken, is that you take this concept that is love and you go, oh, it will offer me relief from all this bullshit that I'm trying to deny, that I'm not
Right.
feeling. And that, it's
In,
all subconscious.
yeah. I mean, in a sense, it does, but it's kind of like a Band-Aid type of thing.
Well, no, to begin with, you get those butterflies.
Maybe it's just masking it.
Yeah,
Maybe
to
that's what it
begin
is.
with, you connect to the essence of this being outside of his pain body with your being outside of your active pain body, and you actually experience, that butterfly state, or that honeymoon period,
Yeah, yeah.
where you actually experience is the essence of the love, right? Why does everybody else always want a new relationship? Because to begin with, no one's disclosing
Right.
their fucked upness.
Well, yeah, but even to begin with, it's like your new partner is always perfect. They can do no wrong. Oh, they fart. It's so cute. Everything's perfect. They can do no wrong. 10 years in, I don't know. 10 years in, fart. Who cares? But at some point, you know, the things I guess start to bother people.
Yeah, when the truth comes in, the honeymoon periods were off, where you're in this blissful ignorance of the truth, that the pain body that is actually cranking this whole thing up. And then, the reality comes in. Guess what? The pain body is still active, and you're trying to soothe it with this concept of love. And it just completely backfires and explodes.
Um, re- Related is how for new, especially for new relationships, people will pretend to be someone else.
That's a whole other story, right?
uh, we watched that Trying show, and at one point the woman and the husband are talking, and he's like, "No, you gotta be yourself for hang on, you gotta be yourself when you meet somebody." And she's like, "No, no, no, you gotta pretend to be exactly who they want, and then slowly over time let yourself come in." Yeah, I don't think that works out so well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, but at that point, but that's just pain body. You think you are something that is, I don't know what, will not be accepted, will not be loved.
Right.
Which is, I guess, did you do that
Um.
to some extent, or
Yeah,
no?
to some extent, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I never took on roles.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Um,
I was like, I mean, I took on. I mean, I was the most myself with you. Now I think I am myself with you, but I was the most myself with you. But like I was a different person at school. I was a different person at work. I would play that part.
I realized.
And there's a continuum between being a completely separate person at work versus home. And well, at home, we talk about these things, but at work I can't really talk about these topics because of whatever work politics or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a spectrum,
Yeah.
but I was closer to the wrong side of that spectrum.
Yeah. No, with work, I guess what I realized is like when I thought I wasn't myself, it's not that I wasn't myself. I was trying to be like that corporate person. When I came across that person last week that I had a conversation with, that's what it was. It reminded me of that essence of self where you have to be to pretend this corporate person. Like it's a persona of like, oh, well, here's how a business world for women looks like, and then so and that's different than what I'm talking about is just not being yourself for a relationship, hiding completely who you are, and then all of a sudden, 6 months in, you're like, oh, guess what?
I don't like ice skating. I know I told you I like ice skating. We've been ice skating 30 times. I hate it. But that is the type of thing that people will do, because your partner does, or you think they do, like ice skating. And so I like ice skating too. Sure, let's go ice skating.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I want to go, this is the progression I want. So to begin with, when you go into a relationship, let's say we're just doing romantic love, but any scenario of love, you are trying to get, in that case, love to you means somehow an easement or relief from feeling like shit. And then you think that, oh, the second I'm accepted by this person unconditionally, that is unconditional love. So thus I will not feel like shit inside. As opposed to realizing, okay, well, maybe I need to do some personal development work before I can go out and start actually seeking a relationship that I'm not trying to get it to fix anything, right? That's the goal of a relationship, is not to be a solution for your personal problem.
It's I don't know how to word this.
That is not rude.
No, I don't know how to. It's not.
It's not a Band-Aid, right? It's not a whole filling. Or like whole filling is what you would do, right? Like, oh, look, I feel like shit. I'm depressed. I feel unlovable right now. But instead of recognizing that feeling within yourself, you would come to me wanting me to offer you something that would make you not feel that.
Yes.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
That is what most relationships are. Like they think that whenever I do feel like, and I'm not saying the partner should not be there. That's the difference. I'm not saying the partner should not be there to help you work through it, or you can have an honest conversation going, oh, hey, I'm feeling like shit. I don't know why. Can we, do
well,
if the partner can do therapy.
That's the difference between codependence and interdependence. That's what I was trying to say. It's, codependence, it's you need them in order to feel good. And interdependence is they want to help you feel better about yourself.
Yeah, but something like that. But at the same time, that is fine. But you should not think that they are there to help you feel better about yourself and then be your therapist.
Yeah, that's not their job.
Yes,
that's not their job. It's great if they do, but that is not their job.
I mean, with you and I happen to be very good at, basically cracking people open and bringing everything that they're choosing not to see within themselves.
Yes, very good.
And you're my hardest patient, I guess. I don't have any other patients, but when I do come across somebody,
doesn't that also make me the easiest patient?
So people come into my life whenever they're ready for me to help them crack something, right? And when they come into my life, because they're ready, through that nature of them being ready, and they're already looking for something from me, then by default, I'm able to give that something to them because that's what they're looking for. In your case, you're never looking for anything, especially, back in the olden days, you're just trying not to feel. And so for me back then, to break through to you, to get you to crack something within yourself is like an uphill battle, because not only you're not letting me do it, you don't want to do it yourself. Right. So, that's a whole other plot, I guess. But anyway, so yeah, a couple or love relationship has nothing to do with you not feeling like shit and this person having to provide you or not provide you with anything, But you can, in the right circumstances, work together at identifying your pain bodies like you and I do, and then trying to work through them together. Like sit there and have these discussions where you're like, okay, I'm just feeling overwhelmed about this. What is that? And then you can give me pointers and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you can undensify your pain form so you can come into this recognition of the victim empire and resistance. And so then I want to transition to, this is going to be depressing to some people, but this is the truth. Only then can you start to recognize what love actually is.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because my idea of what love is now, especially romantic love, is wildly different from what it was 5 years ago, 20 years ago, when we got married, whatever.
Yeah. But right, to some extent, I want to say like love, through the process of knowing thyself, right? Love has all these transitory stages of interpretation. This is what will happen. You will start, because love is at the essence of it all, right? Like I don't have to sell anybody on it, but you can feel that inside of yourself. You can feel that, guess what? Like at the core, the vibrational frequency that is my state of being is love, right? And realize that is a force, like almost like just like electricity, something that can zap you. That love is in some way as a force, they can, just like that, have a powerful, let's say not a zap, but yeah, it is a zap, because whenever I'm vibrating and my heart center is open and I come to you,
it literally zaps me.
I could zap you, yeah. But it's, magnetism, like magnetism is a force, but I'm not saying it's actually a magnet, like physical magnet, but it is the same magnetic force that is.
I mean, that's a good, I don't even know if that's an analogy. It's maybe more solid than an analogy, because it literally pulls people together.
Yeah, right. That is how we interpret. So everything we interpret in our life, if I say this, does this make sense? You almost have to, at some point in your life, whenever you're ready, and when you're listening to this, maybe you're already, you have to completely flip your interpretation of love from this point on up to this point on down.
Yeah. Yeah.
You flip your reality of what love is if I see love as the force, like quite literally the force, right? And it is, right? And it is magic in every way. And I start using it as a tool. Like I actually take it and start using it as a tool. You start to reinterpret everything else that you have contributed to being love as a right form of interpretation. Like you reinterpret all the concepts of romantic love, of love to a pet, of love to a child, of love to a flower, love to, I don't know, whatever else, a squirrel, right? Your idea of what love is changes when you interpret it from the top down as a force, as a quite literal, force. And then you see everything else more magical and actually more like real love than the love from the bottom on up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the guidance that I get is your power, like really your existence, is literally a force that we define. We use the word love to define it, because through our human blueprint, we have been programmed to feel it and then thus call it love. Right? But outside of our human language, outside of our human interpretation, it is a like little force. And we have never defined it or looked at it or interpreted anything other than this word as love. And then in fact went on through decades and decades of our existence in our case, but through millions of years, interpreting as something else.
As a feeling, which diminishes it.
Well,
it's more than a feeling.
only as a feeling. only as this like satisfaction. And then we interpret it further down and further down and
Right.
further down and further
It's,
down.
you
And
know,
then it's like a solution
it's
to
on the
our
feeling
crap.
wheel. So, there's fear and there's happiness, and there's joy and there's love and there's, disgust and whatever. And that's it. It's just like those. Just, that one happens to be nice. That's what
Yeah.
everybody
But
thinks it is.
one loves its own set. There's no other thing that is part of it. Part of that wheel. There's just
Right.
this one concept that is love, and everything else is down there lower on its own. But once we choose to live through our pain body in order to be lost, so then we can be found, to the process of know thyself, we start to interpret love from the only place we know, which is the place of the bottom of the barrel, and then that's it.
Right.
And then we're searching for it. We're trying to connect. So when we're trying to connect to the essence of our being, to the essence of ourselves, when we're trying to spiritually awaken or enlighten ourselves, what we're trying to do is actually just open up this flow that is the interpretation of ourselves as this unlimited force that we then call love.
Yeah.
And so, I will say this again, there's nothing actually out there other than this. That's it. Kind of like, that's it. Just that is the understanding. And so if you reach that understanding, and if you reach that point in your being where you see this, you see it and then feel it and you know it. And then you go, oh, okay, so now I am able to, through my de-densification of whatever, right, that previous 50 episodes of our podcast talked about. Now I'm right here, and now I'm redefining my truth. In fact, is I'm just opening to the essence of truth. You're not redefining. You're just finally opening your gates to all the knowledge that has been suppressed. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, I think if you're approaching it from that desperation, that's the clue that it's certainly not from the right place. It's not the right type of love that you're after.
Yeah.
It's not. It's if you're looking for love as a solution to some problem or perceived problem, especially how you feel, that's not the right. That's not even love. That's something else.
Yeah. Yeah. But I want to, where I want to leave it right now is, if you tune in into that love, like if you're over there and you're like, oh my God, I can just find someone and I don't know what.
Love how you.
I don't know what that, but you know what I mean? If you're there, other concepts can exist. Like if I'm doing this and I don't know why that is the interpret. Stop staring at things that I'm pointing to.
I kind of like it.
Okay. So if you're okay, I'm gonna keep my hand here and not do it. So if you're there, damn it, I can't not do it. So right, if you're over here and you're interpreting love, right?
Excited to edit this video.
Okay, just concentrate. Okay, concentrate on what I'm actually saying.
On what you're saying. Okay.
Okay. If you're over there trying to interpret love, idea of laundry could exist along the side of it. Like, oh my gosh, there's love. Oh wait, I need to do laundry. Do you know what I mean? Like,
okay.
Do you see what I mean?
It's a very 3D concept.
Well, if you're over here and you can insert any concept into it, like, I don't actually know why this is how wrong love is interpreted, I guess.
This feels a little Love Island to me.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what it is.
I don't know.
Maybe
Still haven't seen Love Island.
Maybe the fakeness of like, I don't know. Like I look at all.
Steve.
If there's a move where you're doing this, it's not love, right? If your desire is this, then it's not love, right? But if you're in that space,
that feels like it's not coming out of here. It might be coming out somewhere a little bit lower.
Yeah, maybe, right? But if you're in that space, other concepts can hold place. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Right. So in that frequency, if you needed a tool to identify whether or not what you're doing right now or what you're trying to feel right now is love or is not love, that's not love, right? If there's another concept that can enter while you're doing this, that's not love, right? The fact that I think you even have to do this might signify to you that this is not love. But in the frequency of an interrupted prana or interrupted flow of energy that is the essence of you, there is no other concepts. There is no other forms of being. There's no other structures, because within itself, love creates structures and locks everything else out of it.
Right. And that's not just saying that, like, oh, in the honeymoon phase, I can't think about anything else. That's different too.
No, that's different. I'm saying in the love as a force, in the love as the life force, from then which you can emanate your own sovereign power of being, and then thus express the essence of ultimate love. Let's say, like, if that you want to throw that word, that would be a wrong word to use, saying that something else is not ultimate. Do you know what I mean? But if you want to express the essence of you from the core of your interpretation, it is still related to that generalized feeling that you're chasing whenever you want to do this, but you're orchestrating the moves in order to make it seem like so without it being so, as opposed to when you're in that space, there's no deviation from the structure. There's no laundry, right? There's no, I don't know, this. There's no, I don't know, that, or I don't know, whatever, you know. Because like the force is unalterable. Unalterable.
Mhm.
Yeah. You cannot alter the essence of truth. There you go. This goes back to our podcast where we talk about dissonance, right? Dissonance can have other dissonance with it, right? You
Yeah.
can be chasing love and you can be worried about whether or not I have underwear tomorrow. And you can be worried about whether or not, you know, I don't know, your car's starting or not. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of interpretation.
Right.
But when you're in the form of cohesion, which is the flow of love, like quite literally, we need to start identifying that flow.
Yeah.
There's nothing else that could
Right.
hold form.
Right. And that sounds like you're saying you can't think about anything else, but that's not what you're saying.
No, nothing else can hold structure.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a subtle difference. I don't know if I can explain it, but I do know what you're talking about.
You can hold other thoughts and other impression and other interpretations of things from
But it
an
changes.
offshoot standpoint. Like you
Right.
can go, oh, here's where I am. And look, here's this interpretation that is opening for me here on the sideline. But at the core, you're holding the structure.
Right. Out of love, you think about the laundry in the stock market, and it's like, oh, I got to do the laundry. Oh, no, stock market's going to go down or whatever. But in love, you can think about the laundry or the stock market, but it doesn't drag you down. Maybe it's not. It's just a thing. It just is, instead of having a charge to it.
Yeah, you perform, right?
Maybe
You perform
it
these
removes
earthly
all the
duties.
charges.
Yeah, you perform earthly duties through the flow of the prana
Right.
that is the open heart space that I'm
Yeah.
dividing as structure.
You're not. I mean, things could go right, things could go wrong, but you're not overly worried about things.
Yeah,
like-
the laundry is not a thing.
Right.
You're doing
like-
laundry, but it's
yeah.
not a thing.
It's like I had to light a gas water heater yesterday, and I did not approach that from a place of love. Even when I turned the gas off the first time, I'm like, oh, I sure hope I can get this thing back lit again. And
out of fear. That
it was out of
already in
fear, yeah.
You turned it off out of fear.
I turned it off out of fear, and I turned it back on out of fear, and I was just like, it wouldn't light. And it wouldn't light. And I'm following the instructions, and I watched the YouTube videos, and it wouldn't light.
I like when you say, and I'm watching YouTube videos, and you point it to me because I make you watch
You made
YouTube
me watch
videos.
YouTube videos. I read the instructions. In my defense, it is the exact same instructions on how to light a fireplace. It's the same little. knobby dingus thing. But it didn't light. And I am sure that if I had not approached it from that, and not that space, and approached it from love, it would have just lit first click. Eventually, after I half disassembled it and put it back together, changed nothing. Just took it apart, put it back together. What would that change?
Eventually,
I don't know.
after I hope you don't look at it as unkindly, but I pointed out to you.
No, you did.
Maybe
But
I
totally
you should
felt it.
evaluate the energy behind it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We took a break. And I came back and
Well, you
put it together.
decompress, you change your energy flow,
Yeah.
you change the interpretation of prana. Instead of designing and manifesting reality that you're afraid of, you just allow things to be is.
Yeah.
And in is, there's no structure of dissonance.
When I did that, it's off camera, I'm looking at a fireplace. I'm looking at a ceiling fan. There's a ceiling fan that I think I told this story before. I installed a ceiling fan once. I was in a shitty mood. There was no love in this ceiling fan.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the worst ceiling fan. It took so long. Usually a ceiling fan's like a 20, 30-minute job. It took like 2 hours. It was horrible. Everything went wrong. Yeah.
But you're in dissonance.
But I was 100% in dissonance.
Yeah. And so this is what I want to say is when we will start to interpret this, like I think probably within 3 years, humanity will be at the point where we as cumulative culture will start working on this experiment, like, because it is a playground. It becomes a playground. Because a playground of what does it look like? I know I say 3 years, like I'm not saying 3 years and thus you're like, oh, it's okay, I don't have to worry about this. No, it will be very interesting journey until 3 years, right? So like everything you and I have been doing for the last 3 years, everybody has already started and it will basically amplify into the next 3 years. But after that 3-year period, everyone will be in that place where they will start playing with that as a tool, right? You will come into recognition of your sovereign space, right? And you will go, oh, look, here is what my energy is doing, right? So you will kind of like gain responsibility and gain awareness behind your own personal power and see, just like what you and I are doing right now. I mean, some people are already going through it, but on the mass conscious scale, 3 years is like that for everybody. But it will, so those who will still be here on Earth in 3 years will start kind of like playing with this as a, because that's what, you and I are experimenting with that right now, right? Like what they're telling me to do is they're telling me that if you start approaching everything from the love as the life force and you connect to the innate parts of you that actually express themselves through the structures, right? So like you recognize, wait, I am forming the structures, and you see yourself as the architects of all structure around you, right? So then within that, you see, okay, it actually exists as a Kabbalah, the Kabbalah, the tree of life, Kabbalah, is that Kabbalah? Yeah.
Every time I do that, I'm like, do I really want to edit this in? Okay, fine.
Right. So you will see yourself as an architect, and then the Kabbalion tree, it will be your structure, right? So you will see yourself. I'm now going off into very esoteric, advanced concepts, but that is how you interpret reality. You'll see yourself as the tree itself, not being interpreted as a tree. We are not going to be going out and taking tools and taking concepts and looking at them outside in the world as things. That's what I have been doing thus far. You will take everything internally, and you will see yourself as the tool. You will see yourself as the power wall and the power bank, right? And so then you will start go, okay, well, I am the force. I am the love. I am the channel, right? And so that's then you go, okay, because I have this power, one, you will really start to question what is it that you think of every day, and what is it that you say every day, and what is it that you actually subconsciously propagate into this world, because you will see how much power you have, Because if you say something negative or you think something negative and all of a sudden you can't light a water heater, next time, you're going to think 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, in your case, you have me reminding you, right? But the manifestation will happen so quickly to where you will be manifesting all kinds of shit if you're not careful about your personal realization of power.
And it's, as someone who is a lifetime worrier myself, I know now, at least I notice it. I notice it when I do it. That doesn't mean I don't do it, but I at least notice. I'm like, ooh, I'm not doing this from the right place. I'm worried that this is going to go wrong. As I do it, I'm worried it's going. As I think it's going. As I know I need to do it, I'm afraid it's going to go wrong. I notice myself doing that.
Yeah.
But then I at least try to catch it and go, wait a minute, no, that's not the type of energy I want to bring to this. I need to stop thinking about this, reset myself, and then come back.
Yeah,
to it
but
later.
stop thinking about that with me. And I don't know if this works for you or not. We're very aware of the flow of energy, let's say, or prana or kundalini through my form. And the second I feel myself go down here, I know something is awry. And then I can go, okay, there's something. I'm feeling something. And it's usually obvious. I'm usually afraid of something and then my safety is triggered. I mean, with me, it's obvious. But then you kind of have to go, okay, look, I'm back in that density. I'm back in that densified way of fear somehow. And then thus I'm bringing my density down. And it's not like, let's fight this density off. It's actually, let's restructure the thought, flip the narrative to where I am the propagation of my personal power of love into all existence, and then allow that to be the case. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to fix it.
It's not, yeah.
Allow it to be the case from here on down.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Maybe this is the time I'll bring up the examples, right? So all through our history, all the teachings and the stories that we feel the most connected to, right, are like these incredible stories. We're like, oh my gosh, well, you were in this terrible situation and look how you have overcome this, right? We love those stories. Like, oh my God, and then like, oh my God, look what, we love those stories. But the stories that are most powerful are not told the correct way. And so there are some stories that are told the correct way. So the story of like, oh, look, they got cancer. And then like through this miraculous way of being, they cured themselves. Like Kevin's story, to some extent, whenever you tell it, is lump-sided to like, oh, look, Kevin has stage 4 lung cancer. And then a year out, he's in complete remission. Cancer is gone, right? That's not the story that we need to hear is, why did Kevin bring in cancer into his life? And then what did he have to recognize within himself to undo what he has done to himself? That is the real story, right?
Yeah.
And so what I want to bring up is...
We're only telling the second half of that story. Yeah,
but the story is incomplete. Yeah. Like Anita Majani's story, this is a good example of it, right? People love her story because literally she was on her deathbed. I think she was declared dead, and maybe like put her book in a link. And Wayne Dwyer endorsed her and had her on stage with him back when he was alive. And it's just an incredible story of this Indian woman who lived in Singapore, who basically overcame death. Like literally, she was just, her body was withering away. And then she basically dies kind of sort of, or goes into the coma. And then they're like, okay, well, she might as well be dead because, like there's nothing left of her.
Wait, her husband wouldn't pull the plug, right?
No, they didn't pull the plug, but they were like waiting for her to die or whatever. I don't remember what the medical details are.
It was really bad.
Well, it was cancer and just took over her.
Yeah.
And then, that's it. She's just dying. And they're like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. The doctors basically declared her dead, but okay, yeah, we're keeping her breathing or whatever. I don't remember if there was a machine. I mean, from like mental interpretation of it, I guess I would think there would be, but I don't know. Yeah, and so she goes into the white light and she has a conversation with everyone over there, right? Like everyone who manifests into that reality, into that space where she can decide. So she can decide whether or not she goes back or not. And so, she's a story of an NDE, right? And people love NDE stories because it's like, oh my gosh, well, this person gets to touch the magical realm of semi-truth, and then they get to come back and retell the story. They're changed forever because they actually see our infinite existence. And then, God, ayo. Oh my gosh, you're just the cutest.
You're in a mouse.
And wait.
Indeed.
Yeah, and so right, and so then we love her story, right? And then everybody loves the story of survival. But in her book, I don't remember if it's in her book or in her second-hand book. I think it's in her second book, which is actually, I think later she realized that she was telling the story and people were getting attached to the story, but the story had the half that everybody was excited about, but not the whole truth and nothing but the truth, right? And the other story is, she touched on it in the first book, but I think she really went into it in her later discussion, is all through her life, she basically felt suppressed. She felt like she didn't have a voice. So there's all this pain body. And then 2, she had a best friend who was dying of cancer. And she was helping her through it, and she was trying to make the situation better for her. But she said she completely dove into the fear of, what if this is going to happen to me?
That's right. I was trying to remember what it was, but I remember thinking there was something that she said that is like, oh, here's the connection. Here's how she brought it upon herself.
And so later she just completely goes, I literally manifested the cancer within my body. I literally manifested, oh, guess what? This fear of getting cancer completely overtook her, right? Like literally just completely overrode her entire system. It was not natural in any way. It wasn't like, oh, here's your genetic makeup and you're going to die from cancer. It has nothing to do with that.
Oh,
the fear of it.
You've been cleaning out asbestos for 20 years.
Yeah, the fear of it just completely brought that into her.
Wasn't it an identical cancer to her friends too?
I don't remember what kind of cancer it was, but like almost within like a year or 2 of her friend dying from that cancer, she's now dying on her deathbed herself. Like it's that quick. So she manifested it incredibly fast, right? And that's the real story, is we bring in our own option for awakening through the pain body, right? If you're going to hit that bottom, if you're going to hit your bottom, you're going to bring your bottom to yourself, because then you think that you need to come from the bottom and on up in order to then awaken to this prana that is your truth. This is going back to the previous podcast, right? And that's the complete story, is we're manifesting our water heaters. We're manifesting literally cancers that kill us within a year, right? And that is that power that we're not seeing through. Now, it is great that finally in some of those stories, we come into the power of going, oh, wait, why is this in my life? And then you reclaim your sovereignty, you claim your power. And instead of manifesting the death, then you go, oh yeah, there's no such thing as death. There's no such thing as fear. And let me just go on living in truth. And the truth is not the opposite of dying of cancer. It just is. And the is holds structures and not dissonance. And thus, it presents you with the best option of possibility of your life, which is not dying. Right? Now, I'm not saying the goal is to delay dying. What I'm saying is the goal is to live your life to the full potential. And the full potential, if you interpret that potential as an earthling living in this form, then it just includes you being here and continuing and offering something from this flow of prana.
Right. Because when you create, work, do something, cook, play with your kids, from that state of love, it's so much better. It's so much better in every dimension. It's more efficient. The results are better. It's received better. Everything is better.
Yeah.
About that.
Well, the goal in life, right, is to have experience, and to have the experience from the essence of ourself. But the essence of ourself is this innate flow that I'm calling love, because we have learned to associate that flow with a feeling of love, right? because we connected that too. This is the essence, right? It is pizza. I mean, I know that's weird, but you can have that love towards pizza or towards cooking or towards playing with your children or towards squirrels or peonies, whatever.
Pizza sounds good.
I don't know if my interpretation of love would be pizza, but
I meant like that Chicago pizza. Remember?
yeah.
That was pretty good.
Right. But like when you and I, before we did our ayahuasca, right? When you and I did the, what is it called? There's a name
The
for
diet?
it. The diet.
Dieta?
It was basically kind of like so limiting to where by the time you're actually able to have food, you had this innate appreciation for life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, part of ayahuasca is just that. Is like if you spend a week of following the dieta and not eating and not having salt and not having spices.
We did 2 weeks. I mean,
no, it was like,
well, it got more progressively more restrictive as we went, but
right. But it was such a deprivation of a life force, a flow.
I didn't realize how bad just, okay, don't have, added sugar. Okay. That's okay. That's one thing. But like, don't have salt.
Yeah, salt is a big thing.
That's because I don't think I add salt too much. I really don't.
I put a lot of salt.
But apparently, it's in everything. And wow, it was rough. In the end, we were living on basically fruit salads.
But now we love fruit salads.
Now we love fruit salads. That sounds good. Maybe we can have fruit salad today.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if that solidifies things, but that is how the full example of a story looks like. It looks like you are in sovereign state of being, unfortunately for the most of your life, not recognizing so. And then through the fear of manifesting all kinds of bullshit in your life that you would never actually choose, but you are choosing it from the lesson standpoint of self. All to have these many opportunities to awaken to the fact that you're a sovereign being designing this shitty ass life.
I mean, that's the thing is these are all many opportunities to recognize that.
Yeah.
When things are going wrong, that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's like, it sucks to go, well, it's my fault that the ceiling fan installation went horribly wrong. It's my fault I couldn't light the pilot light in that thing. It's weirdly difficult to accept at first that these things, it's my fault that,
but you have to flip the narrative.
Not just my fault, but like deeply my fault.
Yeah, but you see, that's the thing is you're looking at it from the wrong perspective. You're looking at it like, oh, look, here's me living in bullshit and fear, and it's my fault because I'm manifesting things out of fear, right? But what you should look at it is, look, here was the universe giving me another opportunity, right, and looking through that I'm back down there trying to live from bottom on up, as opposed to living from on up, seeing the down.
Yes. Yes.
Everything. So this is something that came in recently that I'm still trying to process, but I will put it out here. We might have a podcast on this later. In order to solidify our acceptance of this reality, we had to flip the narrative, like completely, like 180 degrees. And so everything that we perceive in our case is flipped to its pure opposite. And so when I say you're looking for things from bottom on up, is because we flipped our perspective. And our perspective is being driven by default of this density, like, because like those I did not have one of these things, but this is what just piped into my head. It's like a little bird on his legs that are actually just support structure, and he's it's a toy. It's a children's toy, and he does that.
And he drinks water.
Yeah, but he doesn't. He can never go down. He just through the weight, he only stays up, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Maybe put it up. I don't remember exactly how it works, but they just shoved it into my head. but I never had this bird. I think
I didn't have
sometimes he
one.
has a top hat. Sometimes he has a top hat in order to get him to.
I'm going to completely change the topic and tell you about my experience with that bird, but you finish your thing first.
No, well, no. So that bird is what we have done to solidify our belief of living from bottom up, and then by default, we're kind of locked into the structure, right? When in fact, all the force and all the functionality of being exists in this flip perspective. I'm not saying that the bird needs to be flipped and now live on its head, but
the bird, it turns into a real bird. Make it fly away.
Sure. But it is a flipped perspective, right? It is kind of like the article that I just wrote for IRE, right? This is another example is we have gotten used to this baseline living as a caterpillar, right? Like we're on literally one plant. He survives on one plant, right? I could be wrong, but I think like milkweed is the only thing that they literally like survive on, right?
Yeah, monarch caterpillars.
Yeah, right. And so you live on one plant and you have this one plane existence and everything is interpreted from that plane. Plane of, guess what? I am X inches off the ground and the ground is my reality. And if I want to travel anywhere, I'm just crawling around this plant from leaf to leaf.
Different leaf. Ooh.
Different leaf, right? But what's going to happen is in that flip of perspective, we're literally going to dissolve and then manifest ourselves as something completely different.
That is the craziest thing because it's like, you think, oh, caterpillar to butterfly, there's some sort of, and then it gets the wings and then it gets the legs and then it gets the... No, it's like it literally turns into a goo and then somehow recongeals into a butterfly.
Yeah.
Like if you were to slice open a chrysalis halfway through, it's just a goo. It makes no sense.
But think about this.
It seems like magic.
But everybody already knows this and everybody says that, but nobody actually quite understands or actually goes through the thought process of what it will take. What it will take for a human being
That's what we
to
need
dissolve
to do.
their complete innate sense of existence. Dissolve, like, right? That's what caterpillar does. It dissolves in order to then be rebirthed as something else. Like, what is that process?
Right.
That is a intense process.
Because we think, we want to get from A to C, so we go A, B, C. It's A, dissolve, and then come back at C.
Yeah.
Which is very different.
Yeah.
There's no roadmap for that.
Well, I mean, this goes back to the analogy that they gave me a while back that I keep on bringing up. You're traveling from a city that you know to another city on vacation, and then you stop off at a place you did not plan on stopping, and then you just like leave your car, leave everything you have ever known, and just go off to a point C and start from there. I mean, that is a very rudimentary understanding of it, but that's what,
Yeah.
That is what's happening. So that complete dissolving of self is leaving love as an interpretation of this density and mirroring that is our pain body, because that's basically what we do is we take our pain body and we mirror it and then project it into love, and then thus we have books as 5 languages of love as a solution to it all, which, I will not start raving about it once again, but, it's just a complete despicable disservice to humanity. But that is the only thing we could interpret. It's just like love as this mirror of pain. And then we balance that our entire life. And then now what we're have an opportunity to do and what we will be forced to do is recognize the sovereign power that we have been using this energy of love to create this pain and to create this mirror balance in order to realize that, guess what? I am the sovereign being who has created this tank of bullshit. Do I want to continue to swim in it? And then basically actualize into your own power. And then in 3 years time frame, continue to experience your existence through the recognition thereof.
Yes.
Okay, so what about the bird?
There was a movie. I saw this movie when I was young. I think it was called Blank Man. And I think the guy, some scientist or something, has some accident and he becomes invisible, maybe, or something, because he's all wrapped in bandages. And I think the bandages are otherwise, you know, hard to do invisible people in the 80s in the movie. So he's wrapped in bandages.
Oh, okay. So wait, Robin bandages, but he's invisible
He's
behind it.
invisible. So the bandages are how you portray that in a movie.
Oh, okay.
And
But can other people see the bandages?
yeah,
Oh, okay. So he's visible to other people because he has bandages on.
right. If you took the bandages off, there's nothing there. He's
Okay.
an invisible man, I think.
Okay.
But there was a bad guy. And I don't remember if it was the bad guy or if it was, the invisible man was the good guy. The bad guy, I think, ended up either killing him or not killing him. Had the set off the explosion that
made him invisible.
Something like that. I don't know. But one of them there, and I think it was the bad guy. He had one of those little birds, and the bird, I think it dips into water, and every time it takes another sip of water, it goes a little bit deeper. I think that's how it works. You have like a little cup of water, and it's like da, 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 and it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper, and that's how it keeps filling itself up with water to keep propelling it more and more and more.
Oh, okay.
But then at the other end, he had like a lighter, and eventually it would
evaporate the water.
No, it would eventually click the lighter, which set off the bomb.
Oh,
I think.
Okay. Okay, so
it was super good.
The bird takes on water in order to continue its momentum.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what this is we continue to propagate our density through taking on of more pain body as we continue this momentum of pendulum swings.
Of course, in this thing, it can only take on so much before, it's not going to spin itself around. And, the water, it'll fill itself up eventually. And, there's only so much water. But
you're stationary.
It was a glorified time bomb.
Yeah, but you're locking yourself into this momentum, right? If this is all you know and you continue to take more, then this is all you will ever do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's hence that bird, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is the nature of all humanity, is we're just doing this into that water.
Yeah. So that always had a bit of a uncomfortable connotation to me because it was associated with, this bad guy blowing something up.
Yeah, but they brought that image into my head because in your end, the negative connotation is, guess what happens at the end when you don't de-densify?
Explodes.
You explode.
Right. I like how one of us will get an image and then the other person will basically complete the image. Like that.
Well, no, because I get it, but I don't know what the story is. I mean, I never even had this bird, so I don't know what
I didn't have the bird either. I just remember it from the movie.
But I never even seen that.
I think
movie.
It was Blank Man.
I don't know.
It's not a great movie.
No, but the analogy then just holds, right? Sooner or later, I think the fact that you have a trigger of it exploding, that is what happens.
I think the bad guy had a cigar cutter, and I think he cut off someone's finger too. I didn't like that. Why am I watching? I don't know when this movie came out. 80s, maybe 90s, but it was very traumatic. Apparently,
maybe that's something you need to let go.
I think I thought about that movie recently too.
Oh yeah, well there you go. So not only is it applicable to the nature of all humanity, you have trapped energy that there needs to be released. They say that like all of your personality is set before 7, but you continue to propagate and take on trauma in this fashion all throughout your life.
Yeah.
I mean, even like, technically you and I can still accumulate and continue to take on trauma.
Yeah.
That we still need to release and actualize in the moment as opposed to allowing it to get stuck. And that's the difference. The only thing that changes when you become an adult is that trauma just becomes easy to actualize. Like, oh, look, there's a traumatic event and I need to release it. Versus as children, you don't even know what to do with that.
Right.
And hence it's getting stuck. And hence that's what propagates more trauma, is that you trying to go back to the childhood lock of that trauma becoming a denser density, then just magnetizes everything to itself and just grows and grows and grows and grows. Yeah, but that bird, I mean, I think that's what it is. If he takes on water, then that's the reality, is that we're stuck in this momentum, right? And we will continue to stuck into momentum as long as we continue to add on blindness of our personal actions of sovereignty. Like, as long as we continue to think and then actually declare the fact that we're not responsible for everything around us and blame the empire or the enemy, and then be the victim or thus then resist the enemy, there's no responsibility there, right? There's quite literally you're just triangulating yourself. But the second you choose responsibility, that is your like sovereign's flip. Not just like take responsibility for this action, but like as a whole, you take responsibility, you're able to transcend the system and then go up into the space where you go, okay, well, what is the reality actually is?
Yeah.
And then the more time, again, you spend in that, right, then you kind of ascend your density away to where you're starting to dissolve your caterpillar existence, and then restructure yourself and morph self into pure form of recognition, and then thus utilizing your power, which is basically love, the prana of love, to rebirth yourself as a butterfly, but in our case, as our really the actual purpose of our being, which is the expression of this energy, right?
Yeah.
Every time we have the podcast, and every time we talk about this, and I reach the apex, I'm like, there's nothing else to do. That's it. We're done.
What did we say at the beginning? We're done?
We're done.
Is that the new tagline?
Yeah, but that's it, right? That's it. Now, I say this, it's very simple, but again, I know some people hate the word simple, but that's it. Except it makes it impossible for most people to implement because there are all these triggers that we have set up within ourselves to refuse to see this as our truth.
Right. It's simple, but it may not be easy.
No, you have to have the willpower and the tenacity to see yourself as a responsible party, and then to see your choices as something that carries momentum, and to see your thoughts as something that carries momentum, right?
Yeah.
And then the second you start to take responsibility for that momentum, right, then you become like sovereign into your own recognition.
Yeah.
But that's difficult to do, right? That's really, really difficult to. That's the most, right? Like, it's the most simplest thing, but it's the most difficult thing to accomplish, is to be held responsible for your own power by your own self.
Right. I mean, it's like we're just not. I at least, I think most people are not trained on that from a young age. We're almost trained the opposite. It feels like through society, through whatever. It's not obvious. It was not obvious to me that is how the universe works. That is
Yeah.
how, instead of down here looking up, being up there looking down. Now it feels obvious, but it never crossed my mind from a young age.
Well, no, but at a young age, you feel like you're, the victim to the circumstance, because
You really
your parents
do.
embed that into you, right?
Yeah,
your parents,
especially me, right?
Yeah, in your case, your parents' goal was to disempower you in every way possible. And then when you grow up disempowered, then you don't feel empowered to do anything. You surrender your power literally to anybody and everybody who comes along the way.
Yeah.
Right. And there's that balance between like, and then on my case, right, then I'm like, oh, fuck this. I'm going to take my power. And then I'm fighting to have power. And in your case, you're fighting to, I don't know what your case is. Right. But no matter what, it's some kind of fight against resistance and empire and the victimhood.
You're down in the triangle.
Yeah. But then at some point you realize, wait, I narrated the triangle. I designed my own triangle. I'm spinning in it
Right.
between different roles. And then in the long run, I'm going nowhere.
Right.
The goal is not to go somewhere. It's just to see that you're going nowhere.
I like that.
No, but that's what it is, right? That there's no destination other than seeing your stuck place of being. Because because when you reach that knowledge of like, wait, I'm stuck on the triangle and I'm going elsewhere. Let's be honest, there's no destination. It's just an expression of self. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, can you feel that? In my book, they end the book with like, well, what's the meaning of life, right? And as I'm typing it, whenever I'm channeling, I'm like, because like in my mind, right, back
42.
42, right? Back. I wonder, I'm going to have to channel that out. Right. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm literally like defining purpose of life at the end of my book, right? Which is like the ultimate question that everybody struggles with, right? And I'm curious to know what the answer is, right? And I'm like, I'm typing, but at the same time, because I'm channeling, I'm super curious to know what the answer is. And they're like, being. And I'm like, being? And now I understand what that means, right? Like I understood then, but I almost understood it. I was looking at it and interpreting it through this triangulation of a pain body. And so thus I didn't even know what that meant until only now. I'm like, well, yeah, duh. That is quite obvious.
It's simpler than anybody would think it would be.
Yeah, no, whoever you believed that designed this narrative, this gameplay, designed it very simply. There's no complicated pieces to it. It's like rudimentary child's play. And it's rudimentary for you to actualize into your own sovereignty through the free will that we all have. Like I love that there's so many people out there walking around telling us that we have no free will, or free will is overtaken or whatever. No, it is all free will. It's just how long do we choose to participate in the game that we chose to play? And that's it. And then
we're either choosing to be in that or choosing to not be in that.
That's it. But it's all through free will. There's nothing keeping us away from any state of being. And whenever we feel victim to cancer, whenever we feel victim to the, water heater gaslighting, it is because that is our free will that chose us to be standing in that place, facing that reality. And if we keep on walking around denying that, either to cancer or to decision of not being allied to water heater, we won't go anywhere other than this perpetual circle of fear where we are either fighting or resisting or feeling completely hopeless because we're the victim. And that's it. Through the recognition of the power, we can ascend. And then like that recognition is the tool that we would use to actually go into the space where love is the structure. And then from there, we can actually start implementing the structure. Like that is when the butterfly comes out of its form and goes, okay, what do I do now? Do I choose to sit on this milkweed for the rest of my life? Or do I fly to fucking Mexico?
Yeah, right. Fly to Mexico.
No, but think about that. It literally goes from one place of being, and the extent of its biggest imagination is a different leaf somewhere on the other form of this ladder. And then you go to fucking Mexico.
Right.
I'm not saying Mexico is great, but what I'm saying is think of the feet.
But
the feet.
Thousands of miles, possibly across, Gulf of Mexico or something.
Well, they try to take as much of the land as possible.
Yeah, but doing some sort of like magnetic magic.
We ourselves as human can't even imagine. How can a butterfly be born? Yeah. Are they in Iowa or even up north as like southern Canada, right? It was in Iowa that a lot of them are born on milkweed.
Yeah. If you plop an average human in Iowa and say, good luck, without roads, without maps, they're not getting down to Mexico.
Probably not.
Not alive. I mean, without modern, help. Here's a stick. Good luck.
No, but that is what us declaring self into sovereign power of being is we leave the plane of our limited existence and then we literally transform and start fucking flying to Mexico, right? I mean, you can't even.
Can't even.
But that is the path of our choice into knowing of thyself, right? I'm like, I go back, I know it is this whole thing, the know thyself, but whatever that means. But I'm literally telling people what that means. There's just nothing. That's it. Like, we're done.
Yep.
We're done. So it looks like we're done. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.